Air pellets. Okay. Here are some of my favorite Haggadahs. And Baruch Hashem, I'm sitting with my favorite people. So how could you have a better way to get ready for this beautiful thing? The Rebbe's one is not right here, but everything we're going to talk tonight is going to be here. Here's Kahos had published this, an old Haggadah. Here. There's an old Haggadah. Kahos published it a couple of years ago. No, it is an old Haggadah. It is really an old Haggadah. It really is. It's a beautiful reprint of an old. Look at the pictures. I mean, they're beautiful. The pictures. Look at this. Isn't it beautiful? This is an ancient Haggadah. It's been a very old thing to make pictures with the Haggadahs. And, you can see by the pictures that they're made based on what Chazal tell us. Beautiful Haggadah. Okay, thank you for joining us. Yes.
Hello. 31.
Wow.
This window,
wow. Unbelievable.
More than 1 kilogram inside.
Yeah, they just had to get back.
It
wasn't meant to
help. Goes so much.
Better.
What happened over here is what it says.
Yes.
But
try to figure out yes. So the computerized and understand that exactly. The time it takes to come back to Israel, it's about I don't know, it's a 2 hours something, which is 1,500 kilometers. Exactly. So at that time, the computer should figure out where it's going, where it cannot be going, and change the direction and wiggle it to go back.
Unbelievable.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
They got warning. Okay, but
The Rebbe used to make a farbrengen the second night after it was a dry farbrengen without any wine, without any matzah. The first 3 Divrei Torah we're going to talk about tonight is going to be from a farbrengen the second night of Pesach of Shalamed. Second 3 Divrei Torah tonight is going to be from conversations at the Seder Table the first night of Pesach of Shalamed. In the early years, it used to be the second night of Pesach after the Seder. Yes, dry, yeah. Let's read inside. In the Chabad Haggadahs, I mean, the truth is in all the Haggadahs, there is Kaddish, Urchatz, Karpatz, Yachad, Magid, and right after Magid is Heilach Mahanya. We'll talk about that in a minute. Oh, hey, kehei, keho. So that's the beginning of the Haggadah, and because that's the beginning of the Haggadah, that we find that Chabad Rabbeim, which even though there's a lot to talk about in the beginning of the Seder, you could talk about just Kiddush is already from the 4 koises. There's a difference of the Kiddush of every Yom Tov and the Kiddush of the night of Pesach. And the Kiddush of every Yom Tov, if you want, you can use bread. The night of Pesach, you're mechuyev to have wine. There's already a lot to talk about. There's the Karpas. There's a lot to talk about in the beginning of the Seder. But in the beginning of the Seder, it's like the Kiddush is Zeichlitzis Mitzrayim. But by God, this is something that starts with Magid. Heilach Manya is really the beginning of Magid. Heilach Manya is the beginning of Magid. Let's read inside. Zu Shaychas Heilach Manya Laskola Siman Magid. Ki Siman Magid in Yoni Asipur B'Tzias Mitzrayim Barachovas Adibur Davke. The idea of Magid is not just Zeichlitzis Mitzrayim, but we should tell about it and talk about it Barachovas Adibur. Moving Gamma Mashikosa the Seder Arizal Shamiris Haggadah Tzerichas Liyas Besimcha Ubekol Ram. Arizal said that we have to say the Haggadah with joy, with a loud voice. Masim Gam in Mashikosa the Seder Arizal Shepesach Upesach, that they talk Heinish Klolus in Pesach Kosher in Dibur. The idea of Pesach is to talk about it. That's why Magid is always we talk about Yitzias Mitzrayim, but always at Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim. But tonight it's in the way of Magid. That's why we start with Heilach Manya. Hey is the letter A. What's so special about the letter A? Because the letter A is the five articulators. And also, when someone wants to speak, you have to put out voice. That's meramas in the hey. And then the five articulators break it up. We're saying hey lachmo anya. That the hey is which is the koyach hadibur is called chelak asidi api Kabbalah. It's called chelak asidi because it's the 10th koyach. It's the lowest koyach. So you should know, as we're starting the Haggadah, we're going to pick up the Sfiras HaMalchus, which is Ibun, because we're going to talk about, usually we think about Metzias Mitzrayim. It's not such a chiyuv, so much to talk, but tonight, we have to say it B'Simcha, B'Kol Ram, and Magid, because we're picking up Sfiras HaMalchus. So, hey, Lachma Anya, that Sfiras HaMalchus is the hey, which is the last hey of Yud Kei Vav Kei. And it's the Indian of Anya, it's an Ani, it's poor. And now we're going to pick it up. We're elevating the Sfida of Malchus. Okay, that's bottom line. So the bottom line is that Haggadah really starts with Heilach Ma'anya. As you'll soon see, one of my favorite Haggadahs is Haggadah that came out a couple of years ago. Haggadah Shal Pesach in Pirush Rishonim. So it's just a collection of so many Rishonim, Pasha Rashi, Shiboy Leleke, Davudra, Chulu. I wrote on and it's very, very nice. We'll talk about it's the way they thought about to say that. It's the Rishonim who had these Svarim till a couple of years ago. They're all Mamish Kisveyad. It's unbelievable. So we'll see in a second that one of the Rishonim says that in the Heilach Ma'anya, there is merumas the Indian of Pesach Matzah Morer. Why? Because we already started the Haggadah. Rabbi Gamliel said, "Kol shon lo yamash lo shadar meila b'pechasach lo yotzei deichem basei." So the Rishonim say that Heilach Ma'anya is the lechem, which is matzahs. Yeah, so he's saying, "Hey, come sit down. I'll give you a little bit of matzah." If you'd like, and you know, motor, come here, I'll give you motor. Come and eat with us the Korban Pesach, Keneged Pesach Matzah Motor. So we see from the Rishonim that already, when we're starting Heilach Ma'anya, we're being meram. Why over here all of a sudden we're being meramas for the three things of Pesach Matzah Motor? Because this is the Haggadah. The Haggadah, the mitzvah of saying the Haggadah starts, it's not some accidental. Magid, hey is where we start the Haggadah, and that's why the Baal Haggadah picked to be meramas here. Hey lach ma'anya is matzah, the achol avasana barad the Mitzrayim, kol dechvin yetzav eichel is morer, kol b'trich yetzav yifsach is. That's the way the Rishonim learn it. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if I said it last year, but it's a beautiful word. It's a beautiful word. The Welt sagt. I want to just finish first this word. There's a beautiful thing I found tonight that there was a minig by certain people, and the tzad hashava is that with the Barna Bells and the Briskerov, who would think that these two people thought of the same minig? that were makpid to dance with the family after the Seder. They were makpid to dance with the family after the Seder. And in Brisk, they said that it was the only time they saw a Velvel dance. And he wanted to show that he's besimcha. And the Belzer Rebbe, they said that there was a Pesach in the beginning of the war that they were still under the Nazis, Yimach Shemon. They were hiding. And he was very makbid. He said, Mazel Taka, they should sing quiet, but they should sing and dance. And he was very happy afterwards that he was able to be Mekayim as Minig, Miyomim Yamima, to be able to dance in the night of the Seder. So since we're talking about dancing in the night of the Seder and the Heilach Manya, that is also Pesach, as a Bibel Korom, but Simcha. So I figured that now is the story of the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov saw that it was a big Zayda, Lamaila, and it was a terrible Zayda. And he's trying to be Mavatal the Zayda, and the night of Pesach, Dafka through Simcha, Segaitnish. All of a sudden, he tells his Talmidim they should hold hands, they should close their eyes. He wants to show them something. And they all closed their eyes, and they all saw something, and everyone started laughing. What did they see? It was a Psaposhte Yid and his wife. They drank a lot of the four courses, but those were not just 3.5% alcohol wine. They didn't know machta wine. They made wine. It could be 25% alcohol. And then given good shikishin, and they were dancing. Husband and wife were dancing. What happened? That by the whole Haggadah, that the woman was saying, as she was krechting, saying it's not fair. She was saying it's not fair. I would not treat my child like this, like the Rabbanu Shalom was treating the Jewish people. She kept on a whole say everything. She kept on krechting. She said it's not fair. I would never. And at the end of the Seders, she already drank a lot. The husband said, yentala. But at the end, and it took out the Yidden, and he made so many nisim. So come on, let's stop complaining. Let's dance. So she said, you're right. And the husband and wife, they started to dance, and they danced with such unbelievable simcha that Lamaila was bottled excited that there was from this unbelievable simcha. So make sure that you tell the story, and if you can get the Olam to dance, listen, Bistachosid, the Baran the Bells, Milon Ugodel, Bistalitvak, the Brisker of Milon Ugodel. Either way, you should be dancing. They do it. I could do that, mini. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Yeah. Wow. Shouldn't. Okay. It's unbelievable. The Sfarim have a lot of minogam that they do to show that. Okay. Let's go to the next piece. The Rishonim say, "Hey lachmanya de achola v'sona bara de Mitzrayim is connected matzah. Kol the chvin yesei v'yechol is connected the morer. Kol the chvin, whoever needs yesei v'yechol should come and eat. That is for the morer. And kol the tzrich yesei v'yifsach, that's for the korban pesach. I'm going to read it right now inside. This Rishon inside. Basically, all the Rishonim here, there is Davud Raham, the Shabbailei Aleket, there is the Tosfos Rid, the Rashbatz, all weighed in on this question. The Orchos Chaim, the Ritva, some of them said, you have to erase these words. What do you mean called it Tzrich Yesav? Mishteit jetzt bei der Seder, and Mazah called it Tzrich Yesav Yifsach. So I have to tell the joke. Shmulik would like I should tell the joke. The Welt sagt that's taka the pshat that the child asks. The father says, I'm inviting all the guests. So the child says, Manishtana, you never invite Orchan. So the father says, Avodim yin alaparim mitzrayim. Haritsch und gesagt 10-mal, hat so gesagt, hat nicht getan. Ich sage, ich meine nicht, was ich sage. So that's a little Yiddish cynicism. And that's also the word. Also sagt, yeah, what he's saying. So the emes is, your kasha is the emes really the teretz of the Shabbos Lelek. So the Shabbos Lelek, the emes answers. All the Rishonim says, what do you mean? So naniach, you have a carbon pesach on the table. It was miyois miseh mechayusa shel seh. When the seh was alive, you have to be memana. So what are you making a joke now? You're saying called it tzriich yeseh v'yifsach. How could you say such a thing? Agav urcha. I'm going to go off on a tangent for a second, just because Shabbos I spoke about this medrash that all the Meforshim talk about. And Moshe Rabbeinu gave every year the piece of his carbon pesach. So they asked, "What do you mean they gave the lachayre? There were not money on his carbon pesach." So this bemes does come an inference that Moshe Rabbeinu had in mind to be mezaka all the yidden from his carbon pesach. But the other question that he gave the because how could he give them a kazayas? So the emesis the Rebbe says that the medrash over there says in the beginning that Shevet Levi, that Rambam brings the halacha, was never made for bris. So Shevet Levi, they had no problem. What do you mean? Kol ben echer lo yochel boy namaltem vos yochel boy. They already had the bris milah. So it could be that Moshe Rabbeinu asked all the Leviim that they should have in mind that to be memana Shevet Levi is one of 12 shvatim. It's not that bad. And some Yidden already did a bris. So he asked the Shevet Levi to have in mind all their friends and relatives that didn't have the bris, because they couldn't do the Korban Pesach. But now it would have been too late. So Moshe Rabbeinu, it doesn't mean only Moshe. Moshe V'Shivtei had in mind to bring them into the Korban Pesach. That's what Moshe was Levi. So the emesis, you could say the same thing here, but it's a doichik teretz. But the Shabbos elected. You could have him in mind. If he says no, I didn't want, then it gets complicated. But if he's maskim, you could say Zachan Adam Shlabifon if he wasn't a man himself and he didn't make a machor to go somewhere else. But to answer our kasha, the simplest way is the Shabbos Leleket. Shabbos Leleket says, we're not saying right now we want to invite the guest. We're saying, you should know that in the morning is gegangen, the Yid is gegangen and said, why did they do that? So he says, and this is also brought in they don't know who it is, they call it Pirush Kadma. They said that the Rishonim said an interesting chiddush. They said that it wasn't, a Osher was not allowed to just have a Korban Pesach for himself. Why? Because the pasuk says, "Mishchu chulachem tzayin lemishpacheseichem." And anyway, you can't have a below besorgen that as a feste Yid. I can reinkai na beide baken. It was in a I can reinkai na beide baken. So you can eat as a still not allowed to. Why? V'yesh meforshim called it tzrich yeseh v'yifsach shahakol ruim shiyanim eitzel pesach shelo yomer adam hoil vani osher elech ve'ekna pesach la'atzme v'echene levadi shenemar mishtu k'chulachem tzoyin lemishpacheseichem daike. It has to be. So therefore, we're saying we're not mahomdach nebach nishkum Korban Pesach. What's if we'll invite people in the morning for the Korban Pesach? We don't have a Korban Pesach. I called up Friday. I called someone, give him advice. He said, "Rabbi, what's going to be the Korban Pesach?" So I said, I'm making a pact with you. We're going to have the Korban Pesach. We're money together. We're money together. The Korban Pesach. But what do you mean you're inviting? It's a zecher ba'alma, just like a lot of things we do at the table. And koirach is also zecher lamikdash. You're not really being mekayim because you need to have Pesach here. We're doing Zeich LaMikdash. So also here, we're saying, there used to be, at Pesach in the morning, the Ashidim used to walk around running after the Aniyim and saying, and the Aniyim, are you going to give me a good piece? Or what else are you going to give me with the Korban Pesach? So we're zeicha to this. We're saying now. We're saying called it tzrich yesav yivsach. We're saying it not kilu. We're saying it now. That this is talking what the Yidden would say, but they wouldn't be saying it now by Magid. They would be saying it in the morning. Why are they saying it now? Shabayla lek, it is moisef, what I mentioned before. V'oid yesh loimer, sheyesh bebaba azois pesach matzah morer, matzah heilach manya, morer kol dechvin yesev v'yechol, kamod teima nefesh reiva kol mar mosu. Pesach kol the tzrich yesev v'yifsach. Because we want to be meramas right in the beginning of Haggadah, the three things of Pesach, matzah, morer, which strengthens what I was saying before, that the Rebbe says that Nagod, in a lot of the Haggadahs, it says Magid and then Heilach. Heilach man yehotchen adin for Haggadah. It's not only a preparation. So that's why they were ready right away meramas the inyan of Pesach, matzah, u'morer. I want to say a beautiful word from the Rebbe. The Rebbe said that over here we have an unbelievable thing. Tzadech, we say, hey, lachma anya. Lachma, the matzah, there's a remes for anius nashidus here. There's a lot of, we said this morning, you should have dafke, good flour. But there's a remes also of anius here. Like the Rishonim say that Rebbe Avram Ibn Ezer was shavi the hoidu, and then they gave the people, the shvuyim, they gave them to eat matzah, because they said that if you give you a matzah, it stays in your stomach for many hours. If they whip them or work, so don't worry, don't tell me you're hungry. The matzah can sit in you for 24 hours. So he said, now I knew why the Eibishter put me into captivity. So now I know why matzah, why would the Mitzrayim give them matzah, dafka? Why not pumpernickel bread? Because matzah stays in your stomach for a long time. So there is an inyan of anius in matzah, a remes of anius. So they're saying, hey, lachma anya, which is a remes of anius. And then we say, kol dechvin yesev v'yech, kol dechvin yesev v'yifsach. Korban Pesach is a remes for ashidus. So we want to say these two opposites. Why do we want to say this? Because we're saying about the chiddush of tonight. We're saying, what's the chiddush of tonight? What's the chiddush of tonight? The chiddush of tonight is that we can have two opposites. What's the pshat? So first, let's talk in Kabbalah. The Rebbe says that it's brought a lashon in the Zohar, many Maimorim, oirin sof, l'mayla aden kates, l'mata mata aden tach. We didn't say twice. Oirin sof, l'mayla aden kates, oirin sof. It's the same oirin sof. That's mayla, same oirin sof as mata aden kates. So in the same breath that we're saying that there's a remes for the aniyus, there's a remes for tachlis ashirus. So that's why we find that it's Yisrael that Chazal say lo yisechsa kol bo. We spoke about it this morning. That Taka, when there was a few years ago when the war broke out in Ukraine, the whole Middle East, it's like a treisel. They don't have grain. It turns out they're all buying grain from Ukraine. There's only one country that said no problem. Eretz Yisrael, because lo yisechsa kol bo. The Eibishter made in Eretz Yisrael there should be. You need to go skiing. I said there's a mountain for skiing. You need pilpulim. Malamish ein Eretz Yisrael chesed klum. What's the nekud that the ein Eretz Yisrael chesed klum? That everything is Eretz Yisrael. Mayla aden ketz mata aden tachlis. So there's a story, and we spoke about this several times, that this mamish brings out the nekud that we're talking now. It was a person that was a Yida Gvir. He was a Torah Gdula b'Mokem Echad, and he lived close to Mezrich, but he was a Misnagid. But one time, so many people are coming to the Magid. He's living Ramash Dabai. And he doesn't want to be Mevatel Torah to go to the Magid. But he used to go every day to work. His wife ran the business, and he used to come there for 2 hours and Masada the Cheshbonis. So he asked his wife a favor. I'm today, give me off the 2 hours. So I'm not being Mevatel my shurim. I just want to go to the Magid, give him a shmek. He was Hitzis V'Nigvga. He came and he became a Talmud of the Magid. He became a Talmud of the Magid, and he started to never do poorly in his business. And from a Osher, he became a Oni. He came to the Magid, then he said, what's the Geshen? What happened? The Magid said, the Gemara says, if you want to get Chochma, you should go to Dorim. If you want to get Ashidus, you should go to Tzofain. So you weren't softened. Now you came to Dorim. You were enlightened. Gelen Torah. But now it's Oida Torah. So the Maggid said, how is it possible for a person to be softened and Dorim at the same time? He said, how can you not know the answer? So the Maggid said, the answer is, if nafshi kafir lakeltia, if a person's bittul, then he could be in Sof and Dorim at the same time. And the Maggid gave him a bracha, and he started to do well again in his business. So he understood that the pshat was, Taki came to the Maggid, and Taki was learning from Pnimis Torah, but still he was, and when he worked on his inyan of being nafshi kafir lakeltia, he was able to have a Dorim and Sofan at the same time. So same thing here in the Seder. The godless in the Leila Seder is that you could have, just like Oiden Sof Lamayla Mayla, then gets Mata Mata, then Tachlis, a Yid could have the inyan of Lachma Anya and Korban Pesach, one together with the other, because the godless of Leila Pesach is you could have them both and they're not a contradiction. Good, but it's not just a word. Here's the godless of nafshik offer lakeltia means that a person could have the mile of anius nashiris at the same time. So chastira, only hot a mile and osher hot a mile. So no, a yid can have both miles at the same time, the miles of Aoni and the mile of osher. There's a beautiful story. We spoke about this 5 years ago, so we'll talk about it Bekitze again. But it's just so beautiful. The Welt fragt, how could you write Heilach Ma'anya? The Alter Rebbe Taka, here, this Haggadah, it's an old Haggadah. Taka, you have the here, Kiholach Ma'anya, right? Kiholach Ma'anya. This is 3 or 4, it's not that old, it's 400 years old or something. So Kiholach Ma'anya, Alter Rebbe is no Heilach Ma'anya. This is, what do you mean Heilach Ma'anya? This is the lechem, yeah, you're really telling me? This matzah is the same matzah. Someone put it away in a little bit in a plastic bag, in a Ziploc bag, and it's 3,335 years old. What are you talking about? So the answer is there's a Moira Dikamaisa that's at least 50 pages. I had time to read it, when there was the beginning of COVID. So it's an Lakuta de Burim Chelik Aleph, and it starts on Omud Kuf Nun Zayin. And it finishes, whatever, 100 pages later. Finish Kuf Ayin Tes. I don't know. I'm not sure. They should. So the Nakuda of the story was that the Rebbe Rashab talks about the son when he was a little kid. He used to train him to remember what he saw, and that he should be able to relive. He talks about the Maila of be able to remember something and to relive it. So he tells a story that the Heilige Baditchever had told his Talmidim one day that they're going somewhere. It was 30 kilometers from Berditchev. There was a gorgeous towns, a few towns and land that belonged to Aporitz. And he went there. What happened was that place that they had a general manager, and he was a German, Asoyne Yisrael Gefährlich. And he would walk around with this black dog. First of all, when he came from Germany, Machta Seder, and he was very, very particular with his workers. The little thing I have, Schmitz. But right away, the Yidden, whoever was doing business with the Poritz, the Yidden right away got sent away. And he had this big black dog that he loved. Mamish. He made sure his workers gave it every day milk and meat and he bathed him. His dog was his darling. He said that all his good mazel comes from his dog. But this dog, huh? The other way around. They're backwards. The kids, the Yidden stuff, and Punk, it was a vicious dog, and he would bite. And in the Moiragat, they called the dog the Schwarze Klippe. The Schwarze Klippe. So, and the Rebbe Levitza Baditchev, they came to the town, and everyone knew in this little town that Jews are not welcome. And they came. The Vashem, the Rebbe Levitz Baditcher said, "Medaf toch daven a mincha." So he told Talmidim, "We're going to daven here in this house." This was the house of this German. And the German comes out with his dog, and the dog right away jumps onto the wagon. And but Rebbe Yitzchak macht sich nicht wissentlich, and he's getting ready to come off the wagon. Medaven mincha, so we have to daven somewhere mincha in a house. And this guy got so angry, and describes this guy was huge and handsome. He has long hair, and he pulls out a gun and he points it at Hilag Baditchever, and he tries to Rahman al-Islam to pull the trigger, and he pulls it once, twice, three times. It's the gate. And then he opens the gun, he makes sure everything is good, he closes the gun again, and Emel Tzveimel Deraimel, it's the gate. And accidentally, then he looks up at Reb Levi Yitzchak, and he got so angry he wanted to shoot him. In that moment, the gun went down a drop, and 2 rounds come out, and he killed his dog. So he's like really upset, and his friends come out and say, "You have to take care of the Jews." But they can't talk to him. His dog is dead. And in the meantime, Reb Levi Yitzchak says, "Okay, we have to go into the house. And the Yidua, but about Talmidei Baal Shem, that we daven mincha, there's a special kavana in Zecherav that when you say this with a certain kavana, everyone that's close to you, all of a sudden their memories open up like a floodgate of memories. And we know it from other stories also in Lakutei Devurim. There's a psad that the Bashem Tov had certain kavanas in Ashrei by Mincha, that if you mechavan those kavanas, you open up floodgates of Zecharinas. So Levi Yitzchak was being mechavan those kavanas, and this person, all of a sudden, all his floodgates of Zecharinas, he was a Jew, and he had Jewish parents. And the Nebuch, they lived in Germany, and they were Nebuch. Even back then, he went to university and he went to the army, and he ended up becoming a personal bodyguard to the Kaiser, to the King of Germany. And he was a Gvir. He was Lefierich. He came when he retired. He moved to Ukraine, and he became the manager of this. He had military experience. And then all of a sudden, all his memories are coming up, and so they describe in the story, his friends are telling him, "Why don't you kill the Jews?" So he says, "You guys are Ukrainian poyerim." He says to them, "You guys are dumbbells." And he starts describing. He says, "I was a personal bodyguard to the king in Germany," and he starts describing the pachad that a soldier has when he has to go to the superior, and he goes through. These are guys goyim, peasants in Ukraine. They have no idea. And he tells them how an army is structured and what is a king, and the pachad of going to higher superior, and the pachad of having an audience with the king. And he describes that there is a ish poshut in the tzava, a regular soldier that goes to see the Kaiser, and he's mamish mesmoigig me pachad. And as he said it, he fainted, because he experienced the pachad of that soldier that he's describing, and he fainted from pachad. So the Frierdiker Rebbe said that you see from here the koyach of memory. Anyway, bottom line is, he became a Baal Tshuva, as given from the shenste Talmidim from, here, let me read just the last, it's 100 pages, the story. I don't know if I ruined it or whatever. The bottom line is, let me read the last paragraph. He told his Talmidim not to tell anyone who this person is. He didn't want anyone, so they were supposed to keep it secret. And then, später ist geworden von der Gornonte Mekoroven bei der Baditsche Verov, geworden ein Av-Mishpoche, von einer von der schönsten Mishpoches in Berditsche. That was the end of the story. And then he finished the story. So, Azah Heuche Madregen Tshuva konnt zu gehen, der Chush von Ziur. Or there was that Zelendik or Redendik, welche wegen dem immer befachet, was fällt auf an einfachen Militärmann beschaß darf reingehen zum Käse, that this when he was living it. So lebt der was that cell does durch. He was living it. Und fällt in Chaloshes. Und der was hat as a Chushin Zier kon zukommen zu größer Darges and Avoida. Because this person had the Chushin Zier, he was able to live another guy, but he had the Chushin. So later when he relived the fact that he was a child and he was a Jew, and so he was able to, der Chushin Zier. Jetzt versteht man dem Taten so sprach. Als versteht an Indien ist, la'ache, versteht ihm, ist sich misakev auf mamig da sein in der Indien. When you understand something godly, you should later go deep in your mind to rethink it und guckt bezier bemoiche of der haskole wie eine guckt der verzier noah. This understanding that you have, this godly understanding, rethink it and look at it, visualize it as if you're looking at a moving picture. Look at it as if you're looking at a motion picture. And then you will experience this type of amkus that this person did and came to unbelievable level of tshuva. Sagt der Rebbe, that's a pshat, helach ma'anya. If a yid is a misamek and he sees betzir mamish, so a person, even though it's 3,335 years, it doesn't matter. There's no akbola. A yid could relive mamish experience Yetzias Mitzrayim. Ad kedei kach that he could point on his matzah and say, "Hey lachma anya diachola avasona be'ara de Mitzrayim." That mamish he feels the joy, he feels the pain, he feels the experience, he feels the exodus, he feels that mamish hey lachma anya diachola avasona be'ara de Mitzrayim. Unbelievable. That's not. It's takahei. Ayid of kuman. Ayid has to come to feel the unbelievable that he identifies. He feels how the Yidden felt. He feels the pain. He feels the joy. He feels the Yetzias Mitzrayim. And that's why the Alter Rebbe picked the nusach hey lachma, ipshute, saying that you have to feel it mamish as if this is the lechem. How come? How does he come to? He said that visualizing it. Visual. Huh? Ich habe gemeint verkehrt. Das fragen, was der Meil von Dosche. Der Meil von Doni versteht man. Okay. Well, let's go through another three Divrei Torah quickly. Yeah. Be warm. Okay, Divrei Torah number 4. The first 3 Divrei Torahs are based on thoughts that the Rebbe shared by the Fabrengen, second night of Pesach, Tavshan Lamed. Next 3 Divrei Torahs will be things that the Rebbe shared at his table the first night of the Seder, again in Tavshan Lamed. It says Mesalkin as Akaira, but the emphasis is there's the Gemara says that they took away the table. Why did they take away the table? Because they wanted the kid should ask a question. Why are you taking away the table? Huh? Yeah, there would be oikel shulchan. Why do we not do it? So the Shulchan Aruch says they had shulchanas kanas. Every person had a tiny table. So you can move. And they had this little tiny table, move it away. What are you going to do now? Yeah. What are you going to take now? This big table and take it away. It doesn't shack. The minhag was to take the kaida from one side of the table, put it on the other side of the table. But the Alter Rebbe says, we don't even do that. We just move because the truth is that it's symbolic because the kid already knows from year to year. So therefore, we just move the kaida a little bit. Someone asked that unbelievable, like a funny question. What's the pshat? The night of Pesach, Nigla Lei Melech Malcham Malacham Kadosh Baruch Hu, Mefrek Kashas. Mefrek Kashas. So Nigla Lei Melech Malcham Malacham Kadosh Baruch Hu. Who's asking kashas? Asking questions. But Chazal said you have to ask a question. A minimum, you have to ask one question. Chazal maybe they ask 5 questions. Now we don't have solely or 4. You have to ask questions. Why? Why ask questions? Why have questions? So Rishonim say that when you ask questions, when you give people, like the Friedrich Rebbe used to say, you don't give people unsolicited advice, because then it's meaningless, it's cheap, it doesn't worth anything. If someone asks you for advice, and then you give them what you think is good, adrocha for them, then it's meaningful, because they asked you a question and you gave them an answer. But stamaz, unsolicited advice is not valuable. When a person asks you a question, the child asks you a question, give him an answer. Okay, but that's up in Nigla. In this, the Rebbe says, is because it's very nice not to have any kashas. There has to be, that's nama de chsufa. That's bread that comes with shame. Everything is from the Eibishter. Person, but if there wasn't this Gila, a person would have questions, right? So even when you do have this unbelievable revelation, you have to ask a question and get an answer. And that's the avodas Hashem that we work with ourselves. Even when we're zeicha to get a big revelation, still to ask the question and to get the answer. One of the parts of that God, the Kindle love, I can't wait to ready go with no Mahal Shamba, Tati. So so the Yehuda Noisim Simonim, the Tzach Hadash Bachab. So the Welt fragt, why do we need Simonim? It's not complicated. So my Zayda, Shmuel David Belnav, I used to go to help to make the Seder in Beverly in France every year. Yes, he loved it. But he came from Klimovich. It was a town of Lubavitch Chassidim. But they had so they used to they made jokes from the Yekis. So he said to Gevena Psashta, apparently there was a city in Germany, Biem. Yehuda is nicht Yehuda from the Chazal. To Gevena Shtot, it was in Germany. They said, Rebbe, you mean we're going to do such Bal Tashchis? We're going to pour 10 times? Gefährlich. So he said, I'll make for you a simon, the Tzach Hadash V'Achav. So you only have to do 3 times. Anyway, this is Tzachos. Let's talk at the Pshat. What did I say? Oh, Tazoi. Marcus on Simonim and Ishke Marcus. But the emphasis is that there's a few very geschmack pshat. First pshat that Rebbe brings in the Haggadah is that in the Tehillim, the Marcus are said in a different order. So someone might say, so how do I know what's the real order of the Marcus? Is it the way it's in the Tehillim or the way it's in Chumash? The Behuda Noisim Mehem Simonim, that you should know that's the order of how it happened. Okay, but there's a few more things. Another thing that Rebbe says, and Taka, I find that one of the Rishonim says it, is that we find the Gemara a very interesting thing. The Gemara says, "Ein ha'Torah nikna ela b'simonim." That in order to because the Bizman Chazal you couldn't print, you couldn't write, so you have to remember. How are you supposed to remember so much volume of information? So ein ha'Torah niknas ela b'simonim, that you should have simonim in order to be able to remember what you're learning. Like I mentioned the other day, the Rebbe had a koch, and one of the last fabrengas that was Zoichet from the Rebbe. The Rebbe said that a lot of times Rosh Yeshivas give Geshmak Shiurim, but the Simonim of the Gemara, it's just a simon. But a lot of times there is also Poshet Halachas and Remozei Torah that are merumas in the Simonim that are in the Gemara. The Rebbe said then that Rosh Yeshivas should not skip over. I remember after that, maybe Rosh Yeshiva and Lubavitch tried to say up shot in the Simon. Anyway. Right, Tzadik Beis in Baba Kama. I know some behem Simon. So the Gemara says that it be in Daf Tzadik Beis in Menachos, not Baba Kama, Menachos. That Yehuda you know some Simonim. A whole thing about the Lechem Aponim, that he had a special simon to remember all the dimensions of Lechem Aponim. We see that Yehuda Gehalt was the Balashita, that you should make simonim. In order to remember, you should make simonim. Okay. But there's a few very geschmack pshatim. Let me go through a few more pshatim. There is a Pirush Kadman. He says the numerical value of the Tzach Hadash V'Achav is 501. if you take all the makkos according to Rabbi Yossi Aglili and Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva, if you put it all together, 500 makkos. And the Mitzrim said Etz Be'elakim says 500 amon makkos. So if you do it all together, it's 500. So Rabbi Yehuda Hoya, you think it's a machloikis. Rabbi Yossi Aglili says this many makkos. Rabbi Eliezer says 200 makkos. Rabbi Akiva says 250 makkos. Rabbi Yehuda Hoya noisem mehem simonim as Eilo ve'eilo divrei Elokim chayim. Them gechabt 500 and one more for good measure. So David shall helfen that now that the David should help the helfen with all the Sinai Yisrael that are makif Eden that they should chap makas and guta makas and all the makas. There's on zechap. There's a vel. I'll finish off. There's a few more pshotim here, but I'll finish off with a beautiful word my Zed used to say. Take a nice word. Why do we have to say 500 makkah? As a kunst, gedarshen noch a makkah, gedarshen a makkah. What's a soy? 500 name makkahs. Wow. So the posuk says, "Kol machla shesamtim mitzrayim lo yosem alecha ki ani Hashem reifecha." So chachomim were mischakin to say any epis machla, epis makkah. To say, oh yeah, that also went to Mitzrayim. So therefore, on this makkah will be chal what the pasuk says, kol machla shesamti b'Mitzrayim lo yosim alechem. So the Eibush shall helfen that all the avonim ba'avnei b'fros, the Chazal say that the Mitzrayim were throwing, that the Anani Yaakov took them, and not only took them in, but made them go back. That all these avonim, avnei b'fros, that the Sinai Yisrael are trying to throw in Eden, that they should all turn around and should explode onto Sinai Yisrael, and lahobnei Yisrael hoya orba mashvaisam. Yeah, no, hey, bon. Hey, Mitzrayim, Gael, Don, the base of them, is on them. Mitzrayim, Gael, Don, the base of them, is on. Mitzrayim, Gael, Don, the base of them, is on. Hey, Mitzrayim, Gael, Don, the base of them, is on. Mitzrayim. Hey, Mitzrayim, Gael, Don, the base of them, is on. Mitzrayim. There's on the Mitzrayim. I do, but I don't know the name. It's called something. Which one? Oh, this one? No, I don't think so. But this they have in English. Check. This is Yiddish. It's not. Nicht the schwerste Yiddish. This week I'm planning to do a shtickle Yiddish. Knock your socks off. But it's not that Yiddish. It's a pretty basic, but you know, this okay. This is Chelik Aleph, and it's the story starts. No, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and then Thursday night will be Fabrengen. It starts here, Chelik Aleph, on page Kuf Ayin Tes, and it goes all the way, and it goes all the way till. Anyway, this is where it starts. No, 1 second. It starts before. No, I'm sorry. No. It starts. Place Aleph. It starts Chelik Aleph, page Kuf Nun Zayin. Chelik Aleph Kuf Nun Zayin.
Okay, the children.
Should I be?
Comments? I'm selling. Doesn't matter. I'm selling.
First lock the door.